Disengaging is on its own. Mindfulness, concentration doesn't grasp itself. Stillness, indifference doesn't grasp itself. No grasping is on its own, child. This is without flaw. No flaw. Flawless. The practice of vipassana and kamasthana is the desire, is the cause, the samudaya in itself. The practice itself is the samudaya. Make it up to practice in this way and that way. That's why it becomes samudaya of the practice, creating realms of existence all by oneself. Is to be ending, to be given ending to, instead is used to practice. For both worldly and dharma, that's not the way. That which has nothing to do with the beginning or the end, trying to begin or to end, that's not the way. Why being obsessed with something within worldly and dharma? This is desire, delusion, and delusive attachment. This is totally the samudaya, misleading, having self-importance to create a path for oneself to walk on, to practice. This is being deluded from the start, deludedly having self-importance to create a path for oneself to walk on, to practice. This is the delusion that creates the delusion. That which is given ending to, but is unending within itself. To practice, how can there's ending? True ending has nothing to do with practicing or no practice. Listen well, listen again. The uninvolvement is on its own. Disengaging is on its own. Being obsessed to deludedly beginning and ending on and on. Being deluded to oneself, that is not enough, but creating a path to practice further. Practicing the knowing and the seeing, what kind of thing is that? What kind of identity is that is practicing the knowing and seeing? This is overlaying by desire and delusion. What is there that practicing the mundane thing and the Dhamma? This is full of desire. This is full of delusion. Totally. What kind of identity that is acting on anything, within anything, is the same desire. Ha means a lot. There's a lot of desire. when practicing is full of desire, striving to fight, striving to escape. This is desire and delusion totally. The desire of the kind of delusion, delusional. Desiring to obtain, to attain, to grasp. They practice mindfulness because they want to attain. Without desire, how can there be a practice? Just disengage even on its own. Non-attachment is on its own with everything. Why practicing anything? Because they want to obtain, to attain. This is desire, delusion, and greed altogether. Is to be cut, but instead they practice for attainment. You know that the cutting is on its own. This is not to cut something. Disengaging is on its own, is not to disengaging from something. Listen well, so that it will end all about good and bad. Listen well. Then it will not be about anything within cutting or not cutting. The delusion in cutting, because there is someone who is cutting, there is delusion, desire and delusive attachment that is doing it. Deludedly cutting this and that. What is there to be used for cutting? It's just desire and delusion that is acting on cutting. Cut through the cutting itself instead, so that it will end all about this act of cutting or not cutting. Let's not having anything within cutting or not cutting. Disengaging is on its own, child. It doesn't grasp itself. Mind doesn't grasp itself. Because of the training for attainment, that's why it's become each one on one's own path. Path doesn't exist. There's no one or someone that exists. This is self-delusion, practicing on one's own way, deludedly obtaining and not, deludedly reaching and not. This is just one's own delusion. Being obsessed with significance and meanings, taking things into account. Why going around is not even being direct. The word no is not even no itself. That is ending being direct. Why going around? It's not about anything in being direct. Even being at anything is not about it, because realms of existence will be right there. Therefore, just cut through itself. No is not even no itself. So don't be engrossed with deludedly rejecting anything. To be at anything, there is no purification in being direct or being at anything. This is still samsara in itself. Being obsessed with being at something on and on. Mind is on its own. This is not about mind to anything. The letting go is on its own. This is not about letting go of anything. Disengaging is on its own. This is not to disengaging from anything, child. That's why the ending is ending itself. is on its own. Deludedly having self-importance about being Soda, Sakataka, Anakami and Arahants. This is deluded viewpoints. Being misleading, giving meanings towards that which has no meanings. That which has no steps, creating steps. The anatta has steps, anicca has steps, sunyata has steps, the emptiness has steps. That which has no steps, being deluded to create steps, this is deluded viewpoints, deludedly interpreting, giving meanings. This is a lot, full of termites in the Tripitaka, termites within Buddha words, creating interpretation, dwelling in it, full of termites. This is termites within Tripitaka, this sentence, that sentence. Purification must be self-purification. That which is not to be grasped but is being grasped. That's why it becomes samsara. Any sentences are not to be grasped, even a sentence. But everything has been grasped and creating samsara in itself. Listening is to be ended according to the listening, but instead it's been grasping from the listening for understanding, for knowing. How can there be ending here, according to listening towards ending? Full of that, full of termites. That which has no meanings but is being created with meanings. Disengaging is on its own, child, so that the cutting is on its own, ending is on its own. What is it to be practiced? Because it's going to become samsara. Samsara within the practice itself. And it's full on in everywhere. There are just practitioners in both the mundane and spirituality. These are all samsara. Mundane and spirituality are samsara when they are practitioners for both ways. However, they have common difficulties in the mundane and in spirituality. Therefore, just disengaging on its own, let there be the essence of the cutting on its own altogether. It will end all about the mundane and spirituality. Once they have the karma within the worldly and within spirituality, they are just practicing on and on. Use the essence of disengaging on its own altogether, non-attachment on its own altogether, so that it will purify for both the mundane and spirituality, ending for both. Whatever ways are not the way. If there is a walker on a path, this is already damaging. No is not even no itself. The true essence is the non-attachment or no grasping is on its own. True essence is non-attachment on its own. If there is someone or a practitioner, that is already a troublesome. The true essence is the non-attachment that is on its own. No grasping is on its own. No such thing as someone who is enlightened or not, someone who is reaching or not. Not having is not even exist. If there is a practitioner, that is already terrible. It becomes karma within both mundane and spirituality. By a single delusion within knowing, there is just an obsession with knowing and not knowing. There is the practice within such a thing, totally, which is a delusion in itself. Right practice, good practice is not the way. Still, it is a practitioner. That's terrible already. Is this still the samudaya? They make it up. Buddha doesn't teach that at all. They create it in the later generations and then encouraging it. It is the samudaya in both the mundane and spirituality. What is there that it's being straight for in such right practice? This is distorted. Disengaging is on its own. It's not about straighting to somewhere. What is it within good practice? Right practice. This is desire, delusion, and elusive attachment that is make it up. Being obsessed with significance and meanings. Being obsessed with meanings and significance within the goodness or badness. That is just one's own delusion. Being deluded to Nibbana or not Nibbana, being empty or not, all by oneself. Emptiness is not emptiness itself. Are you enlightened to this truth or not? Nibbana is not even Nibbana itself. Are you enlightened to this truth or not? This is being engrossed with using Tithi to grab it. Nibbana in this way and that way. This is just estimating with one's own Tithi, one's own opinions and meanings. Disengaging is on its own, child. This has nothing to do with having Tithi or not, seeing or not seeing, understanding or not understanding, knowing or not knowing. Does not become a delusion all by oneself, all by itself. Why use mind on its own? Because there is something within mind. That's why mind must discard itself, so that there will be a purification for something within mind. It will dissolve mind itself. It will dissolve and purify something within the non-attachments. It will dissolve everything that is overlaying there. listen well, then it will definitely ending the idea of goodness. It will not be about anything within goodness or badness according to samsara that is practicing. They are deluded to goodness. That is like having something within the goodness. That is not truly goodness. The true goodness is not about anything within the goodness. Because that which is in the goodness is not good within itself. Something in the goodness is not good within the goodness itself. Being deluded and fixated to goodness, crazy for the goodness that is not good within the goodness. Therefore, there are two kinds of people who quarrels. Those who are good and those who are not good. They quarrel among one another in this world. Why is it so? Because they are both insane. They are both delusional. Those who are deluded to goodness, having something within the goodness, therefore, you don't need to teach anyone to be good human. Let's purify humanness and dissolve being humans and all beingness for samsara instead. What is there to be created, to be integrated, to be fabricated? This is the obsession with significance and meanings, in no ending within the desire. There are so many termites, they just grab for every sentence. Just eating, just consuming only. Let there be self-purification in any sentences. No grasping for any sentences. When there is grasping, it's endless. How can there be any grasping for something that gives ending, When there is a grasping, it's not ending.